First up, getting an exclusive news break on February Pulwama attack in a sharp contrast to the position taken by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which categorically stated Pulwama terror attack was not an intelligence failure. The CRPF internal report after a detailed inquiry has confirmed an intelligence failure. The inquiry report points out, though there was a general alert regarding an IED threat during the period, but there was no specific threat from a car-borne suicide bomber. The report also stated no such input was shared by any intelligence agency in the valley where the force was posted for any sort of precautionary steps regarding this. Kamaljeet Sandhu and Shiv Arur join me with more details on this. Kamal, coming to you first. This is an important, in fact, piece of information which you have accessed. Not only is the CRPF attributing this to an intelligence failure of specific kind of input on the car-borne IED attack, it also lists out other failures on its part as well. Just take our viewers through what all does this report say.
Well, the internal report of CRPF clearly points out, one, that this is a massive intelligence failure, and second, that this is a huge security lapse. The number of lapses took place on account of CRPF. They were saying there were 78 vehicles carrying around 2,500 personnel, saying it was an unusually long CRPF convoy that was easy to detect. The information could have been leaked and made it an easy target. However, it also talks about how civilian traffic was allowed during the movement of the convoy. And remember, from 4th to 14th is a period when no convoy was moving on account of heavy snowfall. So when the convoy was finally allowed to move and people were put on that, they were put at high risk. So yes, a number of measures were taken immediately because remember, there was not just about a backlash, but also retaliatory strike in terms of Balakot. But what immediate measures were taken was that the flights were announced for CRPF soldiers. The convoys continue to take place. But again, there are lessons to be learned, and the Court of Inquiry clearly points out to the measures, one, which needs to be in place. And remember, the civilian traffic has now been removed as when the convoy moves. The other part is obviously about how there was no intelligence. And remember, there are a number of intelligence agencies on ground. The JKP is at work. Then there is obviously the intelligence agencies. They say there was not any specific input which was given. And the other part is obviously where they've said that the only man on ground who tried to save this particular incident from happening and could not succeed, the ASI Mohanlal, should be getting a gallantry award. So a number of things really coming out in this particular report.
Stay on with me, Kamal. Let me also bring in Shiv Arur, consulting editor, India Today, joining us with more on this. Shiv, this also comes, as a warning to the government. The initial, the MHA coming out saying no intelligence failure, everything was absolutely fine. It tells you the complexities still not in place when it comes to the inter-agencies dependence or sharing of information is concerned in Jammu and Kashmir.
You know, Ankit, right after the Pulwama attack on February the 14th this year, a lot of politics was played. The government tried to play down the idea of an intelligence failure, saying that there was a central intelligence alert that was provided, from the Home Ministry. All of that conversation happened at that time. But this internal inquiry report that Kamaljeet Sandhu has scooped from the CRPF, basically proves what was from the beginning everyone's worst fear, that there was an intelligence failure. There was a lack of actionable intelligence that could have prevented an attack of this kind. Whether it was a systemic lapse or a collaborative lapse between agencies, will be known as the investigation progresses. But the fact that this was an intelligence lapse was something that was largely already validated. How else could so much explosive be brought in? The logistics involved in tracking the movement of that particular convoy, the manner in which Adil Dar was able to penetrate the convoy and detonate in that manner, all pointed to what this inquiry report has concluded.
Shiv, Kamal, thank you for joining us with all those details. Important, in fact, information coming in there. The government, which had been completely in denial as far as the intelligence failure is concerned, CRPF own report now attributing this attack to an intelligence failure. Many loopholes still need to be plugged as far as security situation in Jammu and Kashmir is concerned.